Hey guys, let's talk about Snow White coming up in 2023. It is the live action movie based on the animated movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Recently, Peter Dinklage was on Mark Maron's podcast, and Mark asked him, "What are your thoughts on this upcoming movie?" Now, at the time, I don't know what the awareness was of the title, that it is now Snow White. I don't know if this title got conveniently changed as a result of the controversy that ensued from that podcast. But basically, Peter said, you know, we're casting, Disney is casting a Latina actress in the role of Snow White. So they're being progressive there, but yet they are telling the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So that's that part, not so progressive. And someone who's been making a big difference for little people, people with disabilities, because there is an umbrella of people with disabilities. Little people fall under that umbrella. So anyone within the under the umbrella of disability, trying to normalize everyone and get representation in all these different ways is a champion for the cause that needs to happen. So in his mind, and many feel this way too, that if you're going to have a film like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, if you're going to tell that story, are you going to try and not reinforce negative stereotypes? So he addressed that concern. And naturally, the whole thing blew up all over the internet. And then Disney responded with, well, actually, we were already working on that issue. I mean, were they? Or now are they really aware? Or how aware are they? They're claiming that they have been consulting people from the community to find out what would be the best way to approach it. But if that is what you're doing, and you have gone and put your film on IMDb, you've done a press release, the word is out that you are doing this film, especially in this day and age, why would you not try to mention this part as well? That you're trying to be progressive when it comes to how the Seven Dwarfs are going to be portrayed. You're mentioning that a Latina actress is going to portray Snow White. So why would you not mention that not only are we being progressive there, but all the way around we are being progressive? So I myself feel that it would have been better to just approach both issues. Maybe they're dealing with it, and maybe they were planning on dealing with it in the most beautiful way that's going to make everybody happy and bring awareness. And it was going to be a nice surprise for later. I don't know. If you're going to mention one, you really need to mention the other, because otherwise that's not so equal. Why would you not mention the one that she's listed? The girl who's the actress who's playing the role of Snow White. Forgive me for forgetting her name. She's in West Side Story. She's the lead in West Side Story, portraying Maria. She's on IMDb right now, listed as playing that part, and Gal Gadot is going to be playing the evil queen, which that'll be kind of fun. But none of the Seven Dwarfs are listed on there. Nobody else, other than I think maybe the prince, but anybody else, they're not listed. So knowing that in this day and age of being politically correct, in this day and age of cancel culture, in this day and age, people are sick and tired of not being represented in a way that isn't negatively reinforcing stereotypes that everyone is sick and tired of. And people just want to fit into society like anyone else does. Why would you not mention this? It's not very sensitive. Even if you were really working on it, it shouldn't be a secret that you were working on that. Why not just save every mention as a big secret? You didn't have to put any names up there. You could have just put the title up there and left it at that. So now, how would they reimagine this so that it's going to work and be politically correct, be sensitive to a community? Now, there are a lot of people that go, well, it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Tell that story. What is so wrong with that story? Okay, believe me, I hear you. I understand why you feel that way. Here's the thing. If it was Snow White and 7 people in wheelchairs that are in their institution and pushed away away from society, and you're picking, if you're just, no, you're not normalizing any of these characters, and then you're giving them names that are not exactly positive, and it's not, they don't have to get rid of the fact that there are dwarves. And for those that are going, wait, isn't dwarves a slur? As far as I am aware, the word midget is a slur. So we don't say that. And I'm just saying it this one moment so you understand which one is the one you don't say. So you would say little people. I personally don't, because I am not a little person. I'm 4'6". I have an illness that stunted my growth, and I am in a wheelchair, but I'm technically not a little person. There's certain conditions that make you a little person, but I'm a person with a disability, and so I don't fully know why the term dwarves is not considered offensive. I would love someone to tell me. I've been trying to find out, and I'm not getting an answer. But if anyone in the comments knows why it's not, that would be great. And it's the condition achondroplasia is one of them. It's called dwarfism. The other term, I don't believe, is sort of a medical term, but it's also been a term that's been weaponized against people. But in general, the term is little people. So now, does this mean that the 7 dwarfs cannot be little people? No, it doesn't mean that at all. Does it mean that they all have to be little people? No, it does. You can mix it up. It's fine. But to now take away characters to be represented that are little people would be wrong too. You don't want to erase the existence of people with different kinds of issues. They are part of our world. I am part of your world. There's so many people that represent the world. So you do want to include everybody. It's how you represent them and tell the story that is important. Now, some people have said, right, but the story of the 7 dwarves being sort of the outcasts of society, and Snow White can relate to this because she sort of was the outcast of her own family, and that's where they bonded. Okay, I can see that, yes. But make sure you're very clear about telling that story. But if you're going to tell that story, you still need to represent them like they shouldn't be treated that way. Because if you're making them the negative stereotype and then trying to tell that story, you're making it look like they should be treated that way. See what I mean? So if you're showing someone from a group that gets oppressed, that everybody in the group, there's diversity, there's people that are brilliant, there are people that have goals and are good moral people, and so on, as opposed to every single person is a bad person, is a person that doesn't have any intellect, and so on. Well, then you can't fight for the characters to achieve and grow if you're going, oh, well, there's nothing really great there, and so everybody should be pushed away because they don't fit into society. So you do need to show us, the audience, that they are in fact people that should be in society, and society is not giving them a fair chance to be there, and therefore that's why she and they bond together and come together and work together and are there for each other. That would be okay. Could you drop that part of it? Sure. I don't think you should. But you could. And, But I still think that you could put some diversity into, does everyone have to be a little person that's a minor there? Could be a bunch of minors and minors, and you know, or is it that you want to stick with they are all little people, but there's a story of what's going on in society, and you're showing people for who they really are and why they belong, integrated into the rest of the world, and they're not being given a fair shot. That would be a way to go about it. So I guess the big question becomes, okay, well, was Disney working on that already? Should Peter have spoken up? Why not? Why can't he say anything? Whether they're working on it or not, we don't know what they're actually doing. So there's nothing wrong with him stating his feelings on this movie, that nobody has said anything about this part of the movie. And some people are like, oh, well, see, it's not named Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That's not the name on IMDb. It's Disney's Snow White. Right, but that doesn't mean that Seven Dwarfs aren't going to be in it. That doesn't mean it's still not the same story. We don't know that. Nobody apprised anyone of that until Peter Dinklage made a point about, this is not a good story. Something needs to be done about it. If you're going to be progressive with the one thing, just be progressive all the way along, because the disabled community, the little people community, it's a cause that is harder to fight in a lot of ways and is not being given as fair a shake as it should be. Things are better than they were, for sure, but definitely there's still a lot that you see on TV and in the movies that you're like, oh, guys, come on. Aren't you consulting anyone? This is how you're portraying people. So, of course, he's going to speak up. And you know what? If it puts them on notice that they better be real careful how they tell that story, because enough is enough, why not? What's wrong with that? Now, I know that there might be some criticism of, oh, come on. Why can't we just tell it the other way? Everyone being overly sensitive about all these different issues. Well, I guess the thing is, when you come from a community that is basically constantly made to be the butt of a joke, and that's how you're represented, well, why wouldn't you want to say something and go, hey guys, look, maybe this time, could you not do that? Could you not make the disability the butt of the joke? Couldn't it just be, it's a human story, these people happen to have this, that, or the other thing that challenges them, but they're still normal people, and these are the issues that they have to deal with. Sure, it could be based on what challenges them. That's fine, but you've got to make them people first. So what's wrong with putting somebody on notice when they're putting a lot of money into a big production that will be an influence on society? It just will be. It will have characters in it that represent people that exist that would love to see themselves represented in a positive way. What's wrong with that? So that it's done right. Because in the past, these things have not always been done right. Most of the time, no. So why not say something, since Disney didn't decide to let anyone know, hey, this is what we're doing. Really exciting. We're really excited about this. We're going to make a difference in how this community is represented. They didn't do that. So how can you have faith that they were going to do it? They were going to consult the right people and do right by that community. We won't know, and we will never know, especially at this point. But the chances of it being right are definitely, there's more of a possibility now. The fact that he used his platform to say something, and it was a casual interview, that it came up. He said something, people are aware, it blew up, Disney's very aware. So in a way, they've been put on notice, and now it's up to them what they do with it, and hopefully they do right by everyone. They do right by their audience. So let's see what happens. I would love to hear everyone's opinion, even if it's totally different than mine. That is fine. I am totally cool with everyone having their own opinion and discussing it below in the comments. Totally cool with it. Love to hear what you think about what I said, about what you think, about the whole situation. Let's just have conversation, because that's how everyone, moves forward and comes together and, learns how to talk to one another and solve problems productively and make each other aware of each other's lives. Because when it comes to the world of disability, a lot of people aren't really aware of the history of why people feel the way they do. The fact that there were laws that made it illegal to be out, whether it was in a restaurant, on the street, at a job, if you were disabled. They were called the ugly laws. And up until 1974, they existed. And if you were out, like I myself went into a card store when I was a teenager, and the old man that it was his store yelled, he's like, "Get her out of here. People don't want to see her in the store. She's probably going to knock things over. She's going to be bad for business." I was like, whoa. It's like, if you don't get her out of here, I'm going to call the cops. And I was like, I will go buy a card somewhere else. That is fine. And that's a leftover. That was not long after those laws were abolished. And that's a leftover in someone believing that that is the right thing to do with a certain community of people, that if you didn't look like your average able-bodied person, you were ugly, you were offensive to the eyes, and you must be hidden away in your institution or your back bedroom. And this was the law. That's why when you look at those histories, and there's so much more to it, that's why how people are represented in TV, movies, and so on is really important, because unfortunately people feel like treating people that way, representing them that way, is still okay, and it's the way it's supposed to be. And we have to evolve from that point and see that people are people. That's why it's people with disabilities, little people, because you're a person first. So love to hear what everyone thinks about the whole subject, or even an offshoot of the subject. And let's see what happens with Disney Snow White.